taken an extraordinarily long time. Hi, folks. Well, it's Thursday night here in rainy Brisbane, which is a rarity for us, for Queenslanders. We're so used to the sunshine. And so tonight, 7 o'clock Queensland, 8 o'clock New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, and ACT. And our good friends in Western Australia, of course, 5 o'clock. Our friends over the ditch, it's 9 o'clock. And in the UK, it's actually, sorry, 10 o'clock in New Zealand, and it's 9 o'clock in the UK. 1 o'clock for our friends on the west coast of the United States and Canada. Anyway, so without further ado, just below me, obviously we come from down under, we've got Vicki Protheroe, and over on the right-hand side, if you look on the screen, is my co-host and Julia Chai. Julia's going to introduce Vic to you, and I'll sit in the background, just do all the little editing and directing and producing like I normally do, and just a mere male who follows what the females have to tell me.
Thank you, Jeff. Hello, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming in online and listening to Dreaming the New Dream. Yes, we're delighted to have Vicki Protheroe with us. She is a board member of the Australian Association of Reflexology. Today we were meant to have Selena Preußer on, but she had to pull out last minute. So we're delighted to have Vicki Protheroe joining us. She's been in this field of attending to people's health through the magic interface of the feet for over a decade, and Vicki is very knowledgeable in other areas. So welcome to the show, Vicki.
Thank you, Julia. It's nice to see you again. It's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me to talk tonight.
So Vicki, I know you're very good at talking because you've taught, and you often do introductions and teach people, as well as if you've been to the Mind Body Spirit Festival, your organization has a stand there and you're often manning the stage. But let's just wind back to your path as to how you know where you grew up. You're a country girl, aren't you?
Yes, I'm from Grafton. So yes, very much a country girl. Enjoy the simple things in life. They're the best, of course. And coming from the country, I guess you learn to enjoy natural things, natural beauty, like the outdoors. And as I've grown, I've decided that reflexology is a really good way to help with your health naturally. It's a non-invasive type therapy that's natural, and it supports your natural health.
And at the moment, from what I understand, is that you've worked with all ranges of humans, from babies to pregnant mothers to the elderly. You know, you've got clients that have been visiting you for over 5 years that are sort of like over their 80s and 90s. So you've been dealing with a very wide range of feet. And I'm interested, of course, as a Qigong teacher, because, you know, there is always this huge emphasis on the feet. But I always find it very hard to explain why. So what led you to choose to focus on the feet?
Well, 20 years ago, when I, after working full time, I decided that I wanted to study something. So I went along to the College of Natural Medicine in Water Street here in Brisbane, and the lecturer got up and was talking about reflexology. And at the time I thought, oh, yeah. And then he said the magic word, like it's from the Egyptian era. And at that time, I was absolutely mad keen on anything Egyptian. He was basically saying that even back in those times, they knew the importance of looking after your health through massage of your hands and your feet. And so I thought, I need to know more about this. And so I did a 2-year course at the college, and I was absolutely ecstatic to come out with all this new knowledge and start teaching and giving that information and passing it on to family and friends. And like the fascinating things that you can learn about the feet, the fact that there's 26 bones in each foot, 107 ligaments, and 19 muscles, not to mention the nerves in the foot. So I just find it absolutely astounding that the photo that you see there, you have the big toe, which is your head, and then coming down the side of the foot on the inside, you've got the spine, which is basically our body within that foot, and then you've got all of the organs as well on the foot, within what we call zones. And when you're treating the foot, you can feel, it's just a feeling when you're working the foot that you get. And to start with, like all people are starting out, you don't exactly, have that confidence. But over the years, tuning in really makes a difference. And doing that, you release tensions within the foot. We're not doctors and we can't say, hey, but generally I find when I'm working the foot, you'll find an ouchy spot and you'll say, oh, that's such and such, say your neck. And they'll say, oh, I have been having trouble with my neck lately. And so we believe that you treat the body as a whole, but you would come back and give that area a little bit of extra help to support homeostasis, is what we call it, where the body is in natural balance. And so I just found it absolutely fascinating that every part of our body is on our feet. And it's the last thing that anybody ever thinks about is your feet. And without your feet, you go nowhere. So we travel through life, and until we actually get sore feet or something happens in that regard, we don't even consider what we do with our feet. So taking care of our feet, to me, is a preventative measure to keep us healthy. So
yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't realize that the Egyptians had been stressing feet. I mean, I know the Tibetans and the Indians and the Chinese do that as well, and the Native American Indians. So, and I guess you're right, we do take our feet for granted until something isn't working. So just on this idea of this kind of user interface on the feet, sort of, why do you think there are, it's like a keyboard or an alert button. Why do you think there are, that the body is actually designed that way, that we've got these nerve endings or connections to the whole
and
body
connections
and in there?
Yeah, it's, to be honest, I don't have the answers to all of this sort of thing because, as I said, I'm not a doctor. But I just know that when I'm working on a person's foot or their hands, it tends to relieve pain in certain areas. People say to me, oh, I can feel that energy going up my feet. So I believe that when we're working, or when I'm working on a person's foot, reflexology is not only working the physical, but the emotional, the mental, and the energetic of the foot as well, systems of the foot as well. So, I might have a client say, and I'm working on their foot and they start to cry, that sort of thing. So you are working obviously on an area of an emotional type for them that's bringing up some sort of a memory, allowing them to release that. And I don't go into it unless they're telling me, unless the client is actually talking to me. And because I find in a session, because they're all individual, I allow the client to say what's happening within the session. So if they want to go to sleep, I mean, I can still work the foot and still know what's happening in that person's body and work different areas for them. But they obviously need that sleep. So I allow that. If they just talk and want to talk, often I find that whatever they're talking about is something that's relevant. It might be releasing for them. So I just allow that process to happen. And it's basically I'm there to support them in what their body needs, rather than, be saying, oh, you better run to the doctor, there's something happening here or whatever. And I find that personally, I use reflexology as well for things that are happening in my life, and it has helped me with situations like, I have had thyroid, and that's not self-diagnosed, that's through the doctors, because I believe we all have a place. And for me, reflexology is a preventative medicine, and that way it's a natural therapy that helps support the body, mind, spirit, and your mental and emotional bodies all at once.
Yeah, I think we all agree. I think most of us have had the luck or the pleasure of having a foot massage or a reflexology session, and we know it feels really good, but we have no clue how it works. Jeff, have you had the opportunity, the benefit of having a reflexology session before?
Oh, yeah. I love it, mate. I'll just put this one up here, this chart. It's really quite interesting because I noticed that when they work on your feet there, and particularly you feel like it's muscle, but then as you can see on this chart, it's almost, look, all those bones. It's actually almost like bone
Yes.
doctors, isn't it? Like it's like those African witch doctors and throughout.
Well, like I said, there are 26 bones in each foot, which
20,
it's quite substantial when you look at it, like your phalanges, your metatarsals, which, your phalanges are the actual toes, the metatarsals are the next long bones down, all the way back to your calcaneus. Yes, and the fact that you have nerves attachments and muscle attachments to all of those bones, which support our health. So if you have blockages in any of those areas, massaging will help allow the flow both ways.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Because once you get past the muscular or the skin, the skin is the largest organ in our body, and you can get a lot of sensations and feelings from that. Then to actually go through the muscular side of things, and then hit these bones. I remember that song. Them bones.
Yeah.
Yeah, you went through the whole body. Singing that song. Got it in my head. Yeah, but look, not only is it in the feet, it's in the ears as well. We sort of get those little acupressure points, and then you get onto the skull and you activate all those sensory points on the skull. The body has some remarkable features to it, and all you just have to do is basically find individuals such as yourself who can actually enlighten you on the path, in an environment which is nurturing and caring. And I feel sorry for our medical practitioners who spend all those years in a university focal point with very little knowledge on nutrition, and they end up
That's true.
in an office with fluoro tubes and all that stuff, and they miss out on vitamin D. That's if they are working full time and not getting out in the sun and enjoying themselves. So that's why you're on the radio. That's why you're here tonight. And wherever time you're watching the show, you go and catch up with reflexologists. I mean, it's just an awesome experience. I mean, females are more driven to going to spas and going to those facilities there where the Asian girls, more than anybody else I've seen, does all the pediatrician types. What do you call it? It's all your foot stuff, you know. They get all your dead skin off your body and off your feet. Oh, it's fantastic. What do you call that?
Pedicures?
Pedicure, yeah, that's it.
Well, you girls are right into it. I mean, there's only one around the world and ended up in Asia, and I went and got one of those. Oh, geez, you feel like walking on air, isn't it? It's really fantastic. So you girls have got an advantage over us blokes by doing all these spa things, you know. So I take my hat off to you girls. It's really good.
We're probably more adventurous in that regard, in that we're willing to at least try something at least once.
Yeah, and you'd actually be surprised in in Tibet, where they do all those they do these really long walks, pilgrimages, and they're out in the snow and the cold, but they will always do a hand and foot massage for themselves in the evenings. And even when I was doing martial arts, our martial art instructor was saying, every evening you've got to wash your feet and be gentle to them and nice to them. And I think that's about releasing. Same thing in China is, in the old days when they didn't have showers, they would still always have a warm foot bath. And I think in Japan, the same thing. Always have a warm foot bath in the evening, even if they can't have a shower, but they will always wash their feet. So, in the Bible as well, it's about washing the feet, cleansing it, because I think there's just something about doing that which signals to your body that you can release that you've picked up during the day.
Let go. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I was going to say, biblical times, that was something that they used to do after, when they were invited to people's homes, walking because they did walk everywhere back then, take their sandals off and bathe their feet before dining with people as well, like you say. And it's a part of ancient history that they obviously knew taking care of your feet's important. And that, I think that's something that we should all think about today, that how important looking after your feet is or are.
I do recall meeting a fella, a geopathic stress guy, and he used to talk about the energy field on the and the many volts that the earth puts out. And as you walk across it, you're actually getting earthed, and you're part of the circuitry system between man and the planet as you walk around barefooted. And it was doing a pendulum demonstration of that. That was quite phenomenal. And I recall some years later where in America, the top shoe salesman was invited to go to Africa and to sell shoes. And so when he arrives in Africa, he then sends a telegram and he says, "I'm coming home. No one wears any shoes." Of course, some decades later, another guy goes over there from the company and sends a telex and says, "Great news. No one wears any shoes." So it's just a take on the concept that when you do walk around with bare feet, your feet do harden up and they become more you become more earthed to the fact you feel and you can sense what's going on. And I think deep there's a psyche there that triggered a lot of people in the planet here to go and watch a movie called Avatar because of that connection with the earth and the trees and the spirit.
That is a brilliant movie. I've watched it several times. Lovely. Yeah, well, when we're walking on the ground outside, and especially on wet grass and that, you are being grounded, which does allow you to be in tune with nature. And I think we all possess that we need to be grounded. And, in tune with nature, especially with everything that's happening at the moment, There's so much fear out there. And a card that I picked up tonight, actually, before the show, it basically says, where there is fear, where there is love, there is no fear, and where there is fear, there is no love. And so, I do little things like that most days to make me aware of the intent that you put into your work. It's important that, when I have a client, that I'm giving 100% to them, and I feel that that's something that I am very much aware of. I'm pretty sure that any reflexologist would be, and they're in tune with themselves so they can support their clients and their customers in health.
Yeah, I think many people don't realize the just continuing on that foot health and the relationship to fear and love, because we all know that our lower chakras, the root, sacral, and the plexus, that they relate to our interactions on Earth, being fight and flight, or being able to project and protect and project, etc. But these lower chakras are actually not fed by the upper energies, are actually supported by Mother Earth. Many people don't realize they keep on just sort of topping up from the top, but these ones, the lower, if they're not supported, if they're not open, and they only get supported and open if we have good leg health and hip health and foot health. It's like that inverted pyramid from the Merkabites, that connection has to be so strong, and we just have to be able to feel supported and confident when we walk, when we stand, when we sit. Otherwise, those energy centers are short of energy, and when they're short of energy, that's when we feel that we're short of something, and we start looking for the attention or energy outside, or for the protection or the support from other people. So then we give away our power, and then we can get hooked in.
Right. And that's another reason why I started doing like the Qigong as well for myself personally, to charge up my energy so that I'm capable of being able to give to others. Because without that, it can be very draining to be forever doing, working on other people and in their energy fields. So for me, learning the Qigong and learning my own energies and being able to replenish that, you can help and support others through that. And that's, to me, what reflexology is about, relaxation. A lot of people come that aren't sleeping very well, and they find, a lot of my clients say they sleep like a baby after reflexology. And I feel that it's just the fact that they're letting go and allowing their body to harmonise and balance into a state of homeostasis. So, yeah.
And that was actually, Sorry. All right, Jeff, go. Jeff?
Oh, no, I was just going to remark on the fact that, just carry on from the previous conversation I was giving. I know that when you're a drunk and you're staggering or walking home, if you want to call it such, and then you might collapse on the front lawn and end up sleeping on the front lawn. You wake up the next morning, you're completely sober because you've actually, your whole body's connected with the earth, and you get completely grounded. There's some aspect there, that place that's lost source of knowledge. So coming back to the reflexology, I mean, you are working with that sensory pad called the feet to be able to stimulate what people have actually covered up with socks, which could be nylon or rayon, polyester type socks, or woolen socks or cotton socks, and then you got some other synthetic sole of a shoe. So where you're wearing leather soles, but really that grounding really needs to be such that you need to be able to walk around barefooted on the grass or on the earth or on the beach. I mean, that's a remarkable scene to see around the world, where people will gravitate to the beach and walk endlessly, depending on how long the beach, just to be part and parcel of walking amongst the water's edge and taking in the ozone of the ocean itself. There's so much to what just needs to be reawakened in human consciousness, isn't it?
Yeah. Personally, I that's one of my favourite things to do, walk along the beach. And people probably don't realise, as they're walking along the beach in the different sands, they're actually, of course, massaging their feet. But it is, because it's such a coarse, some of the sands, such coarse particles, they're actually giving their foot a scrub as you're walking along. And the water, like you say, is cleansing. And yes, you're getting back to nature. I find it personally very calming, very relaxing. And I guess a lot of people would find that way too.
Vicki, can I just ask you about, because I always get asked about this as a Qigong teacher, when we talk about the feet and the importance of feet, they say, oh, I've got flat feet. In your experience as a reflexologist, what is that like an inherited condition, or does that happen because we're not doing a certain type of exercises, or is it a bone structural issue? What's your take?
Well,
on
it
flat
is a
feet?
structural issue, and yes, it can be inherited. But these days, like with podiatrists, and they can actually help support the foot with the different wedges, and reflexology would assist as well with that, because it would all be to do with balance, as you would know, Julia. Our spine and all the bones in the foot help with our balance, as do our muscles. So it would impede on a person's gait, the way they walk. So yes, you definitely would help and could help with reflexology.
And tell us some of the kind of connections people wouldn't expect with reflexology. Like, I know that you've worked with the Logan in Logan at the Women's Centre for a long time. Sort of what are the sort of most sort of for you marvelous or amazing kind of connections or changes that you've been able to assist with?
One of my very first clients, after when I started out, she came along and said to me, oh, the doctors have told me I cannot have children. I have endometriosis. And I thought, oh, okay. So like a good practitioner, you go along and you learn all about how you can support the person. And I basically said to her, well, to me, it's a matter of, if you close your mind to that and say, well, that has to be correct, that's true, then maybe you will have difficulties. But through relaxation and doing reflexology every week, she ended up falling pregnant, and she came back to me, and every week I told her to come along and have some reflexology, and she did so, and she had a natural birth, no problems. Mum and Bubs were really well, and when I first met the baby, because the baby was used to hearing me from the outside, she flung her foot out at me, as if to say, hello, I know you, sort of thing. And to me, I was just absolutely flabbergasted that you have that much of an impact on a person and their life. And they were just so grateful that they could have a child. So it does help in ways that as I was just starting out, of course, you don't know whether that it can be so or not. And it was, to me, that was beautiful, that she wrote me a beautiful letter and came back to see me, and we took photos. And I've even got a photo of me with the daughter and her foot sticking out. I just couldn't believe how amazing to me that was, that the baby knew my voice through all those sessions. So I believe, reflexology has its place, like doctors and everybody else, and you never know unless you give it a go. It's not for everybody. Not everybody's going to enjoy reflexology. I've known a few men, may I say that I really hurt them, and I do the same pressure on all people. So I don't know. My 94-year-old and now even 100-year-old clients say, get in there and work it. And so I do. But, you always say to your clients, tell me so that I can work to your... But I know at one stage I was invited to work at a work site in the medical room, and a lady came to me because she had carpal tunnel, and she was finding it very, very restrictive in her movements. And so I started working on her and suggested some dietary things for her to do, as well as giving her exercises, because I believe giving the clients exercises is a good thing, because it allows them to take control of their life and their health. And anyway, after I did my little, because I worked on her hands, of course, she didn't want to go back to work. She said, oh, I feel this is just wonderful. But another gentleman, the next week after working on his feet, he said, oh, no, I'm not going back to her. She was far too painful. He was just about to have back surgery. So I guess it's one of those things, you can go down the pathway of surgery, and yeah, it's a natural thing to do. But I would try, for anybody out there that's listening, try the natural therapies and see if something else doesn't help you along the way, rather than if that be the case that you have to have surgery in the end, then you have to have surgery. But try other modalities and natural therapies and see if they can't help you.
So, Vicki, just out of interest, and I know that I'm laughing when you're talking about the, you're being very truthful about the different experiences people have had with you. But you've actually, before you became caring and nurturing, you started off being quite the opposite. I'd say very masculine, very young, sort of like, because you spent a lot of time working in the Australian for the Defence Force. You actually, I think where you received commendation or acknowledgement of that, didn't you?
Oh, yes. I mean, I did 20 years with the Defence Force. The Army Reserve, I started out the Army Reserves with 41 Battalion in Grafton, which is a male-dominated type activity, I guess. But I was very much drawn to all of that sort of thing. I loved being, learning the survival techniques. It taught me discipline. I've actually had men say to me, "You're amazing. How come you're always on time?" And it's just something that's natural in me. It's, if I'm say to somebody I'm going to be at somewhere at a certain time, I generally am there on time. And I don't know. I enjoyed the times that I had with the army. Definitely taught me a lot of things, and it's like anything, isn't it? You have your good days and your bad days, and sleeping out under the stars and getting wet and being cold and being hungry and doing all those sort of things, and having certain. I think I grew up with that competition with the male through going. Actually, for a long time in my life, I feel as though I was more male orientated than I was ever female orientated. It's only later in life I've become a quieter, a gentler type of person. So yes, more mothering.
That's great. So you started off, at 17, you joined the reserves, and I'm just sort of a quick shout out to the audience if you've joined us. We're talking to Vicki Protheroe, who is a wonderful reflexologist, and Jeffrey Shaw on Dreaming the New Dream. Just a quick shout out to our visitors, our guests, our audience, Steve and Helen and Dragiko. Thanks for joining us. If you have any questions or comments, do put them in. So you started off at 17 and you were at the Australian Defence Force as an Army reservist. And did you have other jobs at the same time, or, sort of what happened between then and becoming interested in reflexology?
Oh, a lot happened between then. But short version is I left school, went and did a day secretarial studies course. I was chosen to be a computer, work on computers and whatever in Grafton, and decided against that, and left Grafton to go to Sydney to the big smoke at the age of 17, to gain more experience, I guess, and to see the world. And that's where I joined Australia Post. I was with Australia Post for 20 years or 19 years, became a manager, and I guess that's, getting married and having 3 children, and then deciding that children are, and being a manager, you tend to have other priorities rather than the children as such. So I decided that the children are more important than money, and I decided to leave work when I had my 3rd child, Aaron, and be a stay-at-home mum, which was very difficult for me because I was never one to just be a stay-at-home mum. I found it very difficult. So I decided when Aaron was 2, between then I went off to school and did all that school things with kids, learning to read and helping out there. I was the president of the P&F at the boys' school, like you do. And I must admit, I loved that time to be able to be there for their special days, when they were doing race days or they had sports days, and being able to be in the tuck shop or help the school out whenever and wherever was needed. I found that very fulfilling at that time. And then when Aaron was about 2, I realised he needed a bit more children of his own age. So I went out and did some study, and he went to kindy. And that's how the reflexology started, because I knew I wanted to do something, and I love people. I have a love of and healing. And like I said, it's non-invasive. You can do reflexology anywhere, and even during COVID, while COVID was well and truly hit Brisbane and we were closed down, we were told by the government we had to close down, which amazed me because massage was still allowed to operate, but reflexologists weren't. And that was fine. But I still had people that I kept in contact with, and they asked me questions, and I sent them, photos of points and explained to them what exercises they should do to help them. So even though I wasn't there in person, I still supporting people through either phone calls or FaceTiming them, a Zoom. So, yeah.
So one of these things beforehand was you mobile, so you actually go out, and the concept that you mentioned off air was it's for a lot of elderly people. Is that something that currently with NDIS, do you get organisations who are involved in NDIS who come in and support?
Well, some reflexologists do work with NDIS. I don't particularly have anybody at this stage. Mine are mainly either the elderly, or there's maternity, or diabetes, a lot of backaches, different things like that. So, and with my elderly, lymphatic type things, helping mobility, because they're aware of once you're no longer mobile, you're either stuck in a chair or the bed. And there's an old Chinese, I think it's Chinese proverb or whatever, you die from your feet up. And one of my teachers basically said that. And at the time I thought it was strange that they would say such a thing. But it's true, because as you get older, you don't move as much. And so then you end up either sitting in a chair or you're in a bed, and you're not as mobile as what you used to be. So you're no longer moving all of those, like your lymph around, or the blood around your body. I mean, I know the heart pumps your blood, but so that's why I feel that the feet are very important, a very important part of our body that we should really keep stimulated.
Yeah, I'll second that, Vicki.
I don't know if you're aware, but there are 2 places here in Brisbane. There's Walcott Park in Red Hill that has what we call a reflexology path, that you walk along the path and the stones massage your feet. And there's one at Stretton. There are signs. It was put up through the Brisbane Council. At the time, we had a member that was on the council, and he advocated for so he helped along the way with all the paperwork, because there's quite a bit of paperwork to be done to allow these things. But it helped with the community as well, to come together. And I know there at Stretton, they've got a big yin and yang, and they helped with the placing of the stones and as a community. So, and they do their exercises in the park of a morning, and you can walk along the different stones and it stimulates your feet.
Where's that again?
There's one in Stretton. I can't tell you the actual name of the street, but it's off Compton Road, and there are signs that say Reflexology Path, and the other one is at Red Hill. It's Woolcock Park, and we do, or we have been doing reflexology in the park there once a month. We were before COVID came along. We haven't started up again as such, but I think that is something that will start up again, and it's a donation of a gold coin. It's basically to make the people in the area aware of reflexology.
So here's an idea, Vicki, because Vicki is for the audience. Vicki is also is an active director, very director of the Australia Reflexology Association. So if you had an old age centre, or if you had a local community that wanted to get or make a path like that, and in Asia we have them all over the place, and everyone just takes their shoes off and walks backwards or forwards or sideways along those paths. If they wanted to actually design one and put one in, would they be able to get in touch with the Reflexology Association of Australia, or what would you recommend they do?
I think they'd probably have to go through the council, because we had to put everything through the council. Because it is a council park. Even though, the gentleman was a member of the council at the time that helped us out. But yes, you would have to go to the local council and see. I'm not sure. I mean, that was probably 10 to 15 years ago that we did that. And I'm not sure what all the protocol is with councils these days, and what they'd require you to do paperwork wise, because I'm sure a lot of things would have changed in that time. So yeah. So go along to your local council, I would say.
And I'm actually quite interested in continuing this thread, because, as a Qigong teacher, you know that we have a lot of people who are in their 50s, 60s, and they're starting to worry about dementia and Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's. And there is this link between the head, the hands and the feet, and the head and the brain, and the stimulation, as you say, once you get to that age where you're starting to worry about walking because you might fall, you start worrying about not cycling because you might fall, you're not allowed to drive anywhere anymore. Sort of what can people who are caring for their elders do to help them stimulate? What would you recommend?
I'm always telling people, while you're sitting there watching TV, even, massaging your thumbs and your fingers and your hands. You could do that. Anybody can do that, because a lot of people can't reach their feet as such. So, like even the rollers, I've given elderly people, the rollers. Some people think that those electronic foot massaging machines are a good idea. And whilst some people say they are good because they're keeping everything flowing, and it's not the same as a reflexology treatment. So I would definitely say, as you're getting older, and even a friend of mine said to me, my mother's elderly, and I was talking to her about reflexology, and she came from Sydney, so she said, I think that's something that I should do for my mother. And so, if you're caring for your parents or elderly people, get them in contact with somebody that can do a massage for them. Reflexology. And like I said, it's not for everybody. Some people don't like you touching their feet. They are very sensitive. Maybe hand reflexology would be a good thing. And basically anybody could do that if they wanted to, just massaging. I know my late mother-in-law and stepfather, I would massage them when they were in the nursing homes, and they'd say to me, "Oh, it's nothing like the massages that they give." Like the homes, in some homes they do give you massages. They said it's nothing like that. The ones that are professional would give you, but even learning a little bit about massage yourself and going along and doing it for your parents, it would all help.
So does the Reflexology Association have sort of teaching, or is there anywhere anybody could do an introduction to reflexology so that they could actually help the family members? And I used to actually massage my kids' feet, or just hold them when they were, just as reassuring. So, I think if people are interested, where would you recommend they go and study it?
Well, there's only here in Queensland, there's a diploma course, and that's up at the Sunshine Coast at the College of Amaya Natural Therapy Academy at the Sunshine Coast. But that is a full-on diploma. I don't think there are very many people that actually teach it. I did teach at the Yeronga TAFE, but a lot of those weekend courses, they closed down at the TAFE. Yeah. So, as for anywhere else, I'm not sure, to be honest.
Jeff, what's happening?
Oh, I found something that was really, really interesting. I didn't realise it's. I should have stopped sharing. It's quite amazing. It's actually how to build a reflexology path.
Queensland okay.
Can now join.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's just got 15 bloody ads before you get to what you want, isn't it? So.
Okay.
Yeah. You carry on talking, girls, and I'll just be the mere male who's cooking up.
And you do the male thing in the background.
It's quite
good
interesting.
on you, Jeff.
Struck a chord, and I thought that's pretty quite phenomenal. Eh? So I've actually found out that 124 Lexton Street, Stretton. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And then,
there you go. That's the name of the street. Yep.
Yeah, that's the one. And this one over at Red Hill there. Yeah.
Yes, at Ashgrove. Yes.
So I'm sure there's going to be. Sorry. Karen.
Yeah, it's quite fun walking them. I have to admit, I used to sort of, when I see the reflexology path, I go, yay, I can do something with my feet, take them off my shoes, and I'm going, ouch, 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 jumping around like a block.
Yeah, I guess over the years, because we have our feet in shoes all the time, you don't realise how soft we've become. So, yeah. And by activating all those different little points, and like you'd know, Julia, it's allowing the energy to flow naturally and freely through the body.
Mm. And I was going to ask you, and I still want to ask you this, because, I love watching babies, how they move their bodies, because they're just so different from, babies move so spontaneously and different, and they have so much more dexterity. You can watch them curling their toes and arching and bouncing. You get to, you work with the whole spectrum from babies' feet to elderly's feet. So I guess you would actually, over time, I guess it's like a gardener watching plants and trees and how they grow. What have you observed in terms of what the biggest difference is for you between children's feet and adults' feet?
Oh, goodness. That's a great question. I think
Jump that
children
one.
are more pliable. Like children are more pliable, which they are. Like they're willing to experiment and go and climb a tree or run out and do this and that. Whereas as you get older, I think subtly because we don't move as fast too, I think, and well, everybody's different, but generally our feet are like a map of how you've treated your feet over the years. Like some people have never ever given any attention to their feet at all. So, like they're cracked and dry and that sort of thing. And I guess that sort of says a lot about the person's life and their lifestyle. But yeah, I don't generally judge people by their feet as such, because we're all different and we've all had different lifestyles. But like you can tell people's personalities a little bit by their feet too. They're stiff, so when you're working them, they're stiff, and then when you're trying to work them, people are trying to control it themselves, and you go, no, you just sit there and relax, don't do a thing, I'll do everything, and there are people that tend to not be able to do that, allow themselves to relax to a state where they just let go. So I guess there's those things that are a little different in the feet.
That's interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Vicki. And the other question I was going to ask you, because often we see that on Facebook about the different types of feet, and that they might be related to different nationalities. Like the Greek toes versus. I know with the Chinese, they sort of say there's a little pointy toe, means that they're dragons in their ancestors. Their ancestors dragons. So is there any merit to that, or is that just complete rubbish, cultural myth?
Oh, I'm not sure about the toe business, but I mean, yeah, I've heard that like people with big toes, they're very intellectual, and the second toe, if it's longer than the first toe, that they're very sexually oriented. And to be honest, I haven't experienced that type of thing as such. But over the years, you read many books on all of these things. But yes, I haven't had that experience myself, as in, well, yes, the big toe. The bigger that it is, you would say that person is intellectual because they're using their brain and that type of thing. But yes, careful. Yeah.
Okay, my last foot-related question for you. It is a bit of a bugbear, and it's something I pay attention to myself. Is with the big toes, often when people get older, you can see that the big toe is actually turning inwards. And it's, rather than, when we're young, they're kind of straight. And then after a while, the big toe starts going in. And and then after a while, it just becomes like that. And then you can see that that the big toe isn't supporting the foot anymore. Is that something that you see a lot? And what do you think that?
Well, no, I personally haven't seen a lot of that type of thing. I do see feet that are a bit arthritic as such, but even in my elderly clients, I haven't had toes that have been deformed, like grossly, or as you would say. So to me, it would be like an arthritic type thing. And you'd have to sort of find out whether it was painful or not, because in a lot of people, these things go unchecked for years because they don't do anything about it until it is painful. Or that's what I found from my clients. So, yeah. Well, there you go. You can do it yourself in the garden.
Yeah, look at
That's
all
a great idea.
Mm.
So, Jeff, what are they? Are they little tile discs?
Yeah, it's
just
a
concrete.
DIY.
Yeah, DIY. But
A DIY.
yeah, kind of created dug a circular thing to sort of give an imprint, and then they've gone, as they've got the concrete there, and they've got a white mix in it, and then they've gone and put all the little stones in there and brought them up to the surface. So it's virtually like walking on those. You know how you used to have those. Is it Dr. Scholl shoes? You know, those sandals thing, little
Yes.
spikes. Yeah, so that's what they're actually doing there.
You have to be careful with those type of things too. Whilst they are good to do on but to walk on them every day, those type of spiky type things as sandals, you'll find if something hurts, like while you're walking in those Scholl's sandals, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why you don't see them around much anymore, is because they'll be constantly activating nerves in the foot, which after a while will start a padding, which then thickens the skin so that it doesn't activate the nerve. Walking on the stones is a great thing to do to activate for a while, but you wouldn't do it constantly all day, every day type of thing. It's good to just do as a once, an occasional type thing, and that's why those Scholl shoes, I think you'll find, have not been around much of recent years because of that very reason.
Okay, well, it sounds like Vicki knows a lot about. She knows a lot. So if it's painful, go and see a reflexologist like Vicki and check it out, because prevention is the best cure, rather
It's
than
preventative medicine.
Don't ignore your feet either. Yes. So Vicki,
Yeah.
thank you very much for joining us on the show. Jeff, did you have any more reflexology related questions for Vicki?
Hey, do you do lymphatic drainage type work as well?
Yes.
You do?
And there are a lot of us that do lymphatic drainage. Yeah.
Is that basically with the feet, or are you dealing with just working on the body, like a bit like Bowen on the body?
Well, generally I do the legs and the feet
You do?
in the lymphatic drainage. Yeah. But you can do lymphatic just from the feet or the hands. But yeah, I generally work up to the knee, do the leg. Yeah.
Because people don't
As
realize
well.
how important lymphatic system is in your body, and it doesn't have a heart to sort of beat to pump the stuff around. So you got to use natural means, or having someone like yourself coming through to just
Well, with things like COVID around, a lymphatic system is very important because it helps with fighting off all these invasive things in the body, and it helps with your immune system. So, you've definitely got to make sure that the lymphatic system's working properly. And the only way to do that is through exercise, movement, because it doesn't work like the heart has it pumping the blood around the body. The lymphatic system doesn't work without you using movement of the body of some sort. So whether it be through exercise or moving your body in some way, dancing, you don't get that feel-good rush that you need
Okay.
to keep your immune system healthy and happy.
Oh, I'm very pleased. Look, Julia's going to wind us up. So, but it's been a pleasure, Vicki, and I was a bit shell shocked there off air before we come on to say that we've met. Hello. It's
Yeah.
how life sort of revolves itself, isn't it? You don't realise.
It does. It's a small world.
Yeah, very important.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much, Vicki, for coming on very short notice. And to those that are listening to us tonight, thank you for joining us. And on Dreaming the New Dream, you've been listening to Vicki Protheroe, super reflexologist, and Jeffrey Chung, radio owner and host of Dreaming the New Dream and Radio FM88.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Hello. Hello.
Right.
Oh, it's FM.